Malta's parliament approves cannabis bill. Report into Justin Caruana's Bogdanovich contract published in full. People with mobility issues speak about problems with accessibility in Malta. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening and welcome to Lovin Daily. I'm Diacono, joined today by Baldacchino, and today is a historic day for Malta. We have become the first country in Europe to at least partially legalize cannabis for personal use. This bill has been on the cards for a while, but it passed its third reading in Parliament tonight, which means that all it needs now is for the President to sign it and then for it to be enacted into law by the weekend, ideally. What this means is that police can no longer do anything to people who are found with 7 grams or less of cannabis on their person, unless they believe that's either a drug trafficker. People will be allowed to grow up to 4 plants at home. Eventually, cannabis associations will be set up, which will grow the plant on people's behalf. And this hasn't been discussed much, but I think it's a crucial issue. The issue of expungement, which means people who are convicted in the past of cannabis-related crimes can get this wiped out completely of their criminal record, which would be a big help for them, because we all know that it can be problematic to get certain opportunities with crimes or no police conduct. So, big day for Malta. We've actually become from one of the most for a very draconian regime when it comes to cannabis. Police, we've all remembered the sights, police storming into that hotel earlier this year to arrest a young couple who was smoking a joint on Valentine's Day. And now we're going to become a European pioneer hopefully in terms of cannabis reform. So, big day for Malta. Let us know what you think in the comments below about the passing of this bill. Matt, what do you think? Do you agree with it?
Well, to start off, Malta is, paving the way for Europe in terms of it being the first country to partially legalize cannabis for personal use, right? It's skipped ahead of Luxembourg, which was slated to be the first country to do so. Let's also not forget Germany and Switzerland also have plans to loosen their laws. And Netherlands has the gedoogbeleid policy, which tolerates the use of cannabis to a certain extent. I'm curious to see, though, moving forward, regardless of what my thoughts about it are. One, will the president sign the bill to make it officially a law? Because, as you very well said, it is his decision at the end of the day. And two, if the PN ever come to power again, would they repeal it? What do you think?
Well, for the first question, if the president doesn't sign the law, he will trigger a huge constitutional and democratic crisis, because it's Parliament which discusses and debates and scrutinizes law, not the president. The president is there to sign the law. As it's a formality similar to the role of the Queen in the UK. So if he does decide, I don't think he will, but if he does decide to sign it, there'll be pretty huge implications on our democracy. With regards to the PN, interestingly, they haven't said whether they're going to repeal this bill if they get elected to government, which is interesting because in recent days they came out quite strongly against it. But yet they have yet to say whether they say black on white if we're in government we're going to repeal it. And the reason I suspect is because they know that it will be extremely unpopular electorally.
Yeah.
And they need all the votes they can get at this stage, so I wouldn't recommend them doing it.
Yep. Moving into our second story of the day, the Standards Commissioner has published a report into the direct order that Education Minister Justin Caruana handed out to her boyfriend, former footballer Daniel Bogdanovich. In summary, the contract covered a 3-month period, which was worth €15,000. During this contract, it was stipulated that Bogdanovich would have to visit government schools and draft recommendations on how to improve the national school sports ability to produce elite athletes. And it's important to note that this work was not done. The Standards Commissioner has described this as an abuse of power when it comes to Caruana's actions, especially after she led an effort to hide Bogdanovich's evident incompetence for the job. The Prime Minister, on the other hand, has refused to comment on Caruana's potential resignation. What do you think, Tim?
I think that there's absolutely no doubt that Justin Caruana should be made to resign as Minister for Education. There are two things to keep in mind. Firstly, she was already removed from a cabinet role, Malta and Gozo minister, under Robert Abella's administration. This was because her husband, the Deputy Police Commissioner at the time, was found to have been very close to Jorgen Fennick. But yet she was removed. Some people had actually said this was unjust because she's being made to carry the can for her husband's sins, which she might have been completely unaware of. But then she was given a second chance, and the fact that she immediately, right after being given a second chance, decided to give someone very close to her a contract off the back of taxpayers' money. It just really shows, I think, how she views power as a means not of just improving the nation, but of advancing yourself or your friends financially. And that's a very worrying message to send out. Also, the fact that she's, out of all portfolios, she's the Minister of Education, and she should be encouraging people to get as educated as possible, to keep on learning even after they've graduated from sixth form and university. Why? Because you'll have more opportunities that way. But by sending this, by giving Daniel Bogdanovich this contract, which, by the way, the Standards Commission had said he was clearly unqualified to do this particular job, the message you're sending out is study as much as you want, you can get as many degrees, take as many courses as you want, but at the end of the day, if you're the friend of the minister, you're always going to be ahead of the queue of everyone else. And that's a very, very worrying message to send out to society, and I think it's resignation material. Moving on, people with accessibility problems have spoken to Lovin Malta about the difficulties they face on a day-to-day basis, simply moving from point A to B. So this isn't a new issue in Malta. It's a topic that keeps popping its head up time and time again, but yet nothing really seems to be done on a tangible level. So a man spoke to us about his mother who's wheelchair bound, and saying that there's nowhere safe in Malta for them to go to. They actually feel safer at home, because as we know, many streets in Malta are extremely narrow. The pavements are even more narrow. It's a consequence of our architecture, and perhaps in some cases a lack of planning as well. Tourists as well spoke to us. They said, look, we came to Malta on holiday, but we ended up consigned to our hotel room like prisoners, not because they had a contact with a positive case, but because going out into the streets was too dangerous because of all the traffic, and they were literally stuck there. So yes, this is an issue that it's unfortunate, right? And sometimes I think we do need to keep everyone in mind when drafting certain projects and when closing off certain roads. It's important to even keep people with accessibility issues in mind.
Yep, agreed. I mean, I think that this stems largely from Malta's largely ableist mindset, right? And this has steeped into many aspects of life in Malta and Gozo. People with mobility issues and other forms of disability are treated as a minority and are therefore treated as an afterthought when it comes to planning, infrastructure, and general availability of information. Case in point, whether venues are wheelchair accessible or not. And in a day and age when a lot of this information has been made, from an informative perspective for people who might not know about these issues, to tools out there for companies to share with potential customers who may or may not have some form of visibility, to learn about the accessibility of their venue, to not use those tools, I think is quite disappointing. I thought it was very interesting that we had the perspective of both local residents and visitors to Malta and Gozo. It shows that this is truly an issue which affects everyone, right? And bear in mind, this is not just mobility access. This extends to all forms of access, right? So whether it comes to people who have difficulty hearing, difficulty seeing, or other invisible disabilities, we all need to keep these things in mind moving forward as a country. Let's also not forget, when it comes to infrastructural planning, the danger of damaging the aids that these people use to move around in terms of mobility access. These aids essentially become an extension of these people, and damage to them could have detrimental effects on their quality of life. So I really do hope that we'll take it in our stride as a nation to keep all minorities in mind. Our last story for today, football sensation, Malta's very own Hailey Borch has been has been awarded Best Player in Serie A by Italian publication El Football. El Football is a publication which specializes specifically in women's football. She needs no introduction herself. Hailey Borch has had a remarkable debut season at Sassuolo. She finished as the club's top goal scorer, one of the top 5 goal scorers in Serie A, and she's kept up the pace ever since then. She's also, interestingly, the first Maltese woman to score a hat-trick during a game, which is something I learned today. Tim,
yes, I mean, it's very impressive. I mean, even considering the fact that she suffered quite a long injury recently, and she still won this award, and she's still only 18 or 19, as far as I know. So yeah. She has a whole career ahead of her, and the fact she's already being awarded the best player in Serie A, and not even something like the Maltese League or any league like that. No disrespect to the Maltese League, but it shows that she puts her mind to it. The sky really is the limit, and I'm excited to see what the future holds, both for her and for the Malta national team, who, by the way, also have some other pretty exciting talent, footballing talent coming through. So the future does look quite bright. That's it from us for today. Just as a reminder, you have until this Friday, the 17th of December, to participate in the Lovin Daily challenge. All you need to do is prepare gift boxes. There are 7 boxes which you can prepare for mother and child, for children, for different types of children, for pets as well. You can find all the details on Lovin Malta's page, and drop off these gifts at either our offices in Bulmarat or at any Atlas Insurance branch across the country. So it's a great way, I think, of giving something back to people who are less fortunate than us during Christmas, which is meant to be the season of giving at the end of the day. So that's it from us today, and have an evening full of loving.